How many reps should you be doing in the gym? It's one of the most common questions that I hear and one of the most misunderstood. Should you lift heavier for fewer reps, or should you go lighter and more reps? Is 12 too many? Is 4 not enough? Like, what's right? In today's episode, I'm going to break it all down so you can walk into the gym with confidence and train in a way that actually gets you results you're after. Whether that's more strength, more muscle, or more stamina, we got you covered. All right, I am excited to talk about how many reps that you should do. And the reason why I'm excited about it is because I coach right now, as we're currently speaking, 55 people every single week in the 10-week transformation, a 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 6 p.m. group. And I have 55 people that I'm coaching across those. And definitely one of the most common questions in the gym is, should I go heavier or should I stay at the current weight and try to go more reps? Should I go lighter? Should I go lighter and more reps, or should I stay at the current weight? I get that all the time. And I want to instruct to those of you guys who are listening who are in the 10-week transformation how to think about it. And those of you guys who are not in the 10-week transformation but are wondering the same thing because you're wondering the same thing in the gym. Should I go heavier? Should I go lighter? Should I stay the same? Should I go more reps? Less reps? Like, what's right? Let's break it down. Let's give you clarity on what this thing is all about. But before we do, if you want to join us for the Fat Loss Forever workshop, it's Wednesday, August 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central Time. It's going to unlock clarity. It's going to unlock education and simplicity and practicality that you've never had before with your nutrition. And so you can join us today by going to nickcarrier.com/fatloss, and you'll hop on a Zoom call with me and a bunch of others so you can really learn more and feel more confident than you've ever felt when it comes to nutrition. So go to nickcarrier.com/fatloss to join us. All right, you guys. Today I'm here to make sure you don't go to the gym confused. You don't finish a set confused. You're not in between sets confused or in between reps and confused. Let's talk about it. The way to frame up the conversation is there's 3 main goals from resistance training. That's strength, hypertrophy, and muscular endurance. Power is there as well. We'll leave that for a different conversation. But strength, hypertrophy, muscular endurance. Strength, what is that adaptation? The strength adaptation, like what's actually going on inside of your body, is your muscle fibers are creating more ability to produce more force. Hypertrophy, that's when you grow in muscle size. That's when your muscle fibers actually get larger. And then there's muscular endurance. That's when you improve your work capacity and your ability to recover. So those are the 3 big buckets of why you do resistance training, and that's important to frame up the conversation. Now, let's talk about optimal rep ranges for each of these particular goals. If we're talking about strength, we're talking about the ability to produce more force or to lift heavier weight, because force equals mass times acceleration. Force equals mass, which is weight, times acceleration, which is speed. The way that we increase that ability inside of our muscles is primarily by doing sets of 2 to 5 reps. Hypertrophy, when we're talking about growing muscle size, what's the stimulus that needs to be sent to the muscle in order for the muscle fibers to grow? Generally, rep range wise, that's going to be around 6 to 20. Some people talk about maybe even 6 to 30. So that's hypertrophy. And then lastly, muscular endurance, when we're talking about improving our work capacity, our ability to increase the capillary size, improve our mitochondrial density, improve oxygen delivery and lactic acid removal. Muscular endurance, we're thinking 20 or more reps. So that's what we think about when we think about rep ranges. Now, look, I said 2 to 5, I said 6 to 20, I said 20 or more. It's not like defined cutoffs. It's not like if you just do 4 reps, you're not going to be having the ability to build any muscle. It's not like if you're doing 7 reps that you're not going to get stronger at all. There is some crossover. It's just if we're talking about optimally, if we're trying to optimize for one of these 3 adaptations, we're thinking primarily with these rep counts. Now, one of the things that's really important is to understand that this term RIR, or reps in reserve, or proximity to failure, which are just 3 different ways of saying the same thing, is really important when you're talking about these 3 different rep ranges. You can't just do 4 reps of a weight, put it down, not be fatigued, and expect to get stronger. You need to do that certain number of reps, a certain proximity to failure. Generally, when it comes to strength, you probably want to end up getting to at least 4 reps in reserve, maybe 5 reps in reserve, which means this. If I say 4 reps in reserve, that means you finish the set and you say, I maybe could have done 4 reps if I absolutely had to. I could have done 4 more reps if I absolutely had to. If I say I'm 1 rep in reserve, and let's say I'm doing bicep curls, that means I finished the set of bicep curls, and that last rep was really hard, and I think, man, if there was a gun to my head, I could have done 1 more, but that would have been really, really uncomfortable and really painful. So that's what reps in reserve means. For strength and hypertrophy and muscular endurance, you want to be a certain level of proximity to failure. From my education, hypertrophy and muscular endurance are more important to stay 3, 2, 1, 0 reps in reserve than strength. But strength, you don't want to be too far away from that either. Maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 3, maybe 2, and you don't have to go all the way to failure as frequently if your goal is strength. So that's something that's really important to know and understand. It's not just about those rep ranges. It's about achieving the appropriate reps in reserve within those rep ranges. Now, for those of you guys who are listening, this is going to get very practical, very experiential, and those guys who are not listening, this will still make sense as well. But I think a couple of examples that I get a lot in the gym are dumbbell bench press and pull-ups. For whatever reason, those are the exercises when preparing for this episode that I experientially have to instruct people a lot, whether or not to go heavier with dumbbell bench press or lighter. And then for pull-ups, a lot of my clients are not able to do a bodyweight pull-up, so we use assistance. We use bands. We use thick bands for a lot of assistance, and we use thinner bands for less assistance. And so a lot of people are like, do I go with a bigger band or do I go with a less band? And it's not an exact science. It's more experiential and anecdotal when I'm coming up with these numbers. I just know that if you do too few of reps and you don't have great form, then you're not going to really have great muscle engagement. And so I kind of like to think about for bench press, for example, for some reason, what I've experienced is that if you can do 7 or more on dumbbell bench press, you're probably picking a weight that you have always picked up and you've always used. And so if you do 7 or more, sometimes I'm like, I want you to go heavier. And it's not necessarily because 7 is too many reps. It's more because I'm getting you outside of your comfort zone to do something you've never done before in order to unlock results you've never gotten before. And then for pull-ups, somewhat similar. If somebody is able to do 5 or more pull-ups with a certain level of assistance, that might be a time where I'm like, let's use less assistance. Because we need to learn what it feels like to have to pull up a greater percentage of our body weight. And so those are just a little bit of kind of, again, somewhat subjective numbers, but that can probably prove somewhat useful for you guys, whether you're doing dumbbell bench press or pull-ups or something else. Sometimes if 7 or more, if you're using the same weight over and over again, go heavier. If you're doing 5 or more on certain things, go heavier. The last thing I'll say about that is pull-ups take more out of our central nervous system oftentimes than a dumbbell bench press. When you're lifting up your entire body weight, that can really fatigue your system. And so that's why that number might be a little bit lower. With 5 or more, it's like, let's maybe go something where you can only do 2 or 3 or 4. So how does this actually play out physically? Meaning physiologically, meaning aesthetically, meaning when I look at your body and you're doing just a bunch of sets of 2 to 5 versus a bunch of sets of 6 to 20 versus a bunch of sets of 20 or more, what does that change to your body composition? Does that make you grow muscle? Does that make you lose muscle? Does that make you look lean? Does that make you look bulky? Like, what does that mean? A lot of people think like 2 to 5 reps thinks that they're going to get bulky. That's probably the absolute opposite or the furthest thing from the truth, because when you're only doing 2 to 5 reps, you're not getting that much volume. You're not going to get like a pump in the muscle. And so that might be the least likely that you're going to get bulky if you're only doing 2 to 5 reps. Again, you'll stimulate the adaptation of greater force production, but not necessarily increased muscle size quite as much. When you go to hypertrophy, when you do reps of 6 to 20 and you really push it 0, 1, 2 reps in reserve, that's going to be the great zone for muscle growth. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get bulky. Now, but that is going to be your opportunity to grow muscle. Bulky is simply when you have muscle, but you have fat on top of it. And then when we think about muscular endurance, doing reps of 20 or more, a lot of people think, oh, that must be lean muscle. That must be what really gets people looking lean. Not true. Not the case whatsoever. That's not how you look lean. When you build muscle, there's not lean muscle and bulky muscle. There's just muscle. And so that's why bulky, what most people think of as bulky at least, is when you have fat layered on top of muscle. And the last thing I want to say about this is just because something burns doesn't mean it's going to make your muscles grow, because I could do 30, 35, 40, 50 reps of a particular exercise, and I'm going to feel a pump. I'm going to be burning because there's going to be a lot of blood flow moving to that particular muscle group. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be growing that muscle per se. Now, when you're doing a hypertrophy, when you're doing 6 to 20 reps, yes, you want to feel a pump, and that's good. That might lead to muscle growth, but that's because it's in the right rep range, more so necessarily than you just feel a good pump, because you can get a pump with a hell of a lot of reps as well. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you took some notes, and I hope, more than anything, I hope it doesn't scare you to go heavy. I hope it instructs you on which rep range you should be in at what times, and I hope it allows you to be more intentional in the gym and less confused. And so if you want to learn more about what you can do in order to lose body fat, both from a nutrition, mainly from a nutrition and a little bit from a fitness standpoint, you should join us for the Fat Loss Forever workshop, Wednesday, August 13th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, completely free workshop where I am just going to educate the hell out of you. I'm just going to tell you really exactly what it takes in order to reliably, predictively, inevitably lose body fat. Join us today at nickcarrier.com/fatloss and sign up for the August 13th workshop, nickcarrier.com/fatloss. So remember, there's strength, hypertrophy, and muscular endurance. Generally speaking, strength is about 2 to 5 reps, hypertrophy is about 6 to 20, endurance is about 20 or more. You want to make sure that you're training in different rep ranges depending on the goal that you're going for. You want to make sure that you're getting close enough to failure, maybe 0 to 4 or 5 reps in reserve, depending on what you're going for. Don't be afraid to go heavy. Don't just chase the pump because you're doing a ton of reps and you think that's going to make you look lean. That's not what it's about. But I hope today helped you. If it did help you, maybe send this to your workout partner. Maybe share it with somebody that you feel like could learn something from this. If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button so you continue to get notified of the new episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button down below. We've got our brand new studio all set up and rock and rolling and running, and now we're releasing the interview episodes, which I'm so excited about. You do not want to miss those. If you're looking for what should I watch next based off of me liking this video, then you should watch the pre-workout meal guide, timing, macros, and common pitfalls. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click this video. If you're listening, you can click it in the show notes in the description. But I hope today helps you get closer to the healthiest version of yourself, and I hope today helps you get closer and closer to your best you.